Anyway, what I'm going to do is we're going to go through a little presentation, explain to you what we've been doing. This is one of those, not a good thing, but this is one of those Jewish National Fund best kept secrets, because we have accumulated and been involved in hundreds of transactions over the years that I've been here. And as Ken mentioned, many of them are in the multi-million and million-dollar class. So it occurred to me that why don't we, we do this, we find these gifts as a matter of our prospecting and our talking to people, and someone brings something up and we'll say, gee, have you thought about this? And the result has been extraordinary sized gifts. And the thought here amongst myself and this extraordinary team of professionals that work in the plan giving department is we should make this a regular part of our prospecting, looking for donors and talking to people. So I'm going to show you what the results have been, and then also temper that with what looking for these types of gifts, as my colleague Cynthia would say, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack in a haystack. But we find also that when we bring up the conversation and we engage our donors in something like this, the results are worth the effort. So if you will allow me, if I can share my screen. Where is it? Where is it? Where? Here it is. Yeah. Well, it's the lighting. What I can do about that. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to talk about, someone just came in the office and asked me a question. So let's talk about this. So as I mentioned, the results have been extraordinary, and we believe it's worth our effort to search for these gifts. And when I say search, it's really just a matter of opening up a conversation, and we'll talk about it. So let me just give you some of the numbers that have been presented to me over the last year or so. Real estate comprises of US, well, this is according to some numbers I saw back in 2019, that the stock market aggregate is worth about $28 trillion. And real estate owned by individuals and I guess corporations are in the $45 to $50 trillion. It's the largest asset class in the nation. It comprises single asset class, I will say. It comprises 43% of capital wealth, yet last year, only 3% of all donations to nonprofits were real estate. And there are reasons for that, and we'll touch on a couple of them. Our experience alone over the last 12 months, 4 gifts, real estate totaled $11.8 million. I don't know, that's a pretty big number. So we know that our donors are out there, that they own certain pieces of property. And if we could show them the ability and the benefit of donating certain things rather than holding them, both from a charitable point of view and their own point of view, that it makes sense sometimes financially, we believe we have a pretty good story to tell. It's not mutually exclusive, meaning a gift of real estate doesn't exclude necessarily exclude an outright gift, and many times it is outright. And it's an opportunity for our prospects and donors to maximize the generosity and to grow our campaign. So if you just say to yourself, if only a small percentage of our donors contribute to real estate, if we got $11.8 million from 4 gifts, imagine how we would do if we did this on a consistent basis. Now, we don't spend all of our time, but we devote a certain amount of our time to simply ask questions of donors that we're talking to maybe expand the conversation. So nationally, this is an interesting one. The average real estate gift nationally for all charities is about the value of the gift was $475,000. I will tell you that our experience is much larger. It's in the $1 million class. It can have an enormous impact in our campaign, and I believe, which is why we're talking as we ramp up our Beersheba campus campaign, that this is I think could be a really big addition. And what we've discovered, just like everything else, why don't people give bequests? Why don't they do this? Why don't they give major gifts? Simply no one asks. It's not only us, it's across the country and across all charities. It's just not brought up in conversation. And our donors, for the most part, are unaware that we accept gifts of real estate as a regular course of business. And more importantly, we've been doing it for decades. Where someone said to me, there might not be, what was the quote? We have a really good plan giving department. And there might not, and so I don't think many people do it better. They might do it as good as we do it, but I don't think there are many people that do it better. And what our donors don't realize is we have the experience and the sophistication to take a transaction from the beginning right to the end. And like, I want to repeat that $450 billion in charitable contributions across all charities last year, and only 3% of it was in real estate. That 3% sounds small, but I believe if you look at it, that's $13.5 billion in gifts through real estate transactions. There'll be some questions. I guess if you want to chat a question to Efrat or whoever's doing this, we'll answer them towards the end. So the real reason our donors first learn about this, the big reaction is, I didn't know I could do that. And the answer is a lot of times the attorneys or the accountants or the advisors are not mentioning it. We in the plan giving department tend to bring it up more often as a matter of course and discussion with the donors when we talk to them about either gift annuities or donor advised funds or what have you. It goes to the conversation of what else do you own, and what other parts of that, where can that conversation lead us? So to get into the meat of this thing, the types of real estate contributions, it can be residential, it can be commercial, the property could have debt on it or no debt. It could be raw land or improved land, and it could be owned outright in someone's name, or it can be contributed through an entity, LLC, limited partnerships, this type of thing. So anyone who brings it up and has a question, we should have a discussion. So I'm also going to temper all of this by saying that not only is it finding a needle in a haystack, there are many instances where we're offered gifts of real estate where either the terms or the conditions or the type of property is not something that we would want to be involved in. So we do some due diligence before we make a decision. But the answer to the question is we have accepted gifts of all of these kinds over the years that I've been at Jewish National Fund. So why do people want to donate it? Boy, the reasons are all over the place. But the very first gift I did was back when I was first joined JNF was in 1991. We had a donor who went to talk to, he had a business, he went to talk to his printer, and he was mentioning that he went to a seminar that the Heart Association did about how to gift real estate. And he was telling his printer, who was a friend, said he has these 2 apartment buildings that he really doesn't want to manage anymore. He was getting on, he didn't want the headache, and he didn't want to sell it because the capital gains tax back then even in California was outrageous, and he was thinking of calling the Heart Association. Well, his printer was one of our board members in California. He said, why don't you call Jewish National Fund? He didn't know, but he figured, why don't we do this? And that was the first real estate gift we were ever involved with. The amount of the gift was $2.25 million. So why do people donate? In this case, he didn't want the problems of it anymore. Tax benefits, tax deduction, avoidance of capital gains taxes. We could provide a lifetime income for the donors and or heirs. It helps in estate planning and wealth replacement. We can talk to donors about all of these things. And the great thing about the real estate from our point of view and from a campaign point of view is, no, we don't get involved in the selling of life insurance. We don't get involved in the advice of investments unless it's a trust that we're the trustee in. So the donation of real estate involves allied professionals. We need to talk with real estate people locally who can guide us. We need to talk with attorneys, and we need to talk with financial people who would be involved in bringing the transaction to a conclusion. So this is why the donation of real estate is popular. And if we ask, we're going to get our share. So let me just go through a couple of the strategies. Outright gift, testamentary gift, retained life estate. We have been involved in each of these types of transactions at least once, and some of them many times. Our favorite one is just an outright gift. When David Frank was alive, as you know, we worked together very closely. David was in the real estate business, and he introduced me to a gentleman that had an apartment in Beverly Hills that he didn't want to own anymore. He was just tired of it, and he didn't want to sell it. He didn't want to pay the taxes. And we talked to him about a lifetime income gift, and he said to me, I don't need the income. Let me just give it to you. That was a $2 million apartment building. He assigned the rights to us. We received it, we took it, we sold it, got the money, and it was part of the campaign. So the outright gift is easy. You simply sign the title over to Jewish National Fund. We take control, we sell it. There was a gentleman in Long Island just last year who had a piece of raw land, again, didn't want to sell it, didn't want to pay the tax, gave us the property. It was $1,350,000, and we sold it for $1,300,000 like 3 weeks after we received it. That went into the campaign. So the idea here is that we can do some really great things, and we're really talking about significant money. Testamentary gift, we'll talk to people, leave us your properties in your will, or before you pass. Cynthia Hazami talked with a woman. She was very ill, didn't want to do a lifetime gift, but named, and in some states you can do this, some states you can't. In her state you could. She left us her house on a transfer on death provision, which simply means she signed the papers, transfer on death. At the day that she died, the property was titled to us, theoretically. We sold it, the house, it was $1,400,000, and we put the house up for sale and sold it very, very quickly. That was part of this year's campaign. So again, there's Cynthia, an extraordinary plan giving professional, working with a donor on something completely different. The idea of the house and how she wants to pass and what she wants to do, came up with a transfer on death, which netted us $1,400,000 in a very short period of time. Again, the effort of the conversation is yielding, I think, extraordinary results. Retained life estate, I'm talking to someone right now about this. Simply a house or a second house, you want to live in it, you want to continue to enjoy it, you can give us the house today through a gift, and we'll give you an income tax deduction. You live in the house, you get to pay the taxes, do all the maintenance, enjoy the house, and it simply says when you pass on, what the Jewish National Fund gets ownership of the house fully, and we'll sell it and keep it. So retained life estate is someone who says, I have this house, I don't know what to do with it. We can talk to them about making a gift today, receiving the benefit today, where we don't actually get use of the home until they're finished with it, usually at their passing, or if at some point in time they'd like to sell it, we can work on that also. Charitable remainder trust, we've done a lot of these. We did one in California this year. The value of the property was $7.7 million. A donor, again, had property, didn't want to deal with it, didn't want to sell all of it because of taxes. We created a charitable remainder trust. We're going to pay her 5% on the value of the trust every year, which just happens to be 2.5 times what she was receiving in actual rent and running the property herself. We received the property in November and we sold it in January. The trust is operating. The donor couldn't be happier. So again, we talk with our donors, they bring up some ideas, and we're able to hopefully bring them some solutions and strategies to some issues they might be having, as well as, and we can't forget this, the end result is a tremendous gift for our work, for the land and people of Israel. And she was very involved with us, so it was a natural and it was an extraordinary gift. Again, this was part of this year's campaign, that $7.75 million gift. A lead trust is simply where someone owns a piece of property. They say, gee, I'd like my heirs to get this. This is really an estate planning tool. And so we talk to a donor that could give us the property. The Jewish National Fund will keep the income from the property, let's say 10 or 12 or 15 years. And then the property at the end of the term goes to the donor's heirs. And it's a way to freeze an asset for estate planning and to get assets to other succeeding generations at a discounted tax cost. We do some of these. It looks great on paper and it sounds great. To actually have someone do one is more of a challenge. But the point is we run into the right situation, we could show them an extraordinary tool. So what to ask someone interested in the gift, real estate? We ask about the property. What is the ownership, the cost basis? Do you want to continue living in it if it's residential? Do you want a lifetime income? Do you know your gift can leave your legacy and still benefit your children? You know, one of the things that we've been able to do, because if someone gives a significant piece of property away, their heirs won't get the value of that property. In the case of several of the charitable remainder trusts we've done, we've shown the donor that, yeah, you could give us a $2 million piece of property. You're going to get these tax benefits. You're going to get this income. And then if you're worried about your children, we don't sell it, but we can bring up the strategy, purchase a life insurance policy with some of the tax savings and the income. And when you pass, Jewish National Fund will get the trust. Your kids are going to get the money through a life insurance policy, tax-free. And the only thing that happened is they made a terrific legacy gift. The kids were made whole, and the government maybe didn't collect all the taxes they might have had the gift been done. Now, does this work every time? The answer to that question is no, it does not. But when the numbers work out and the strategy plays out, we can do some pretty sophisticated things for our donors. And then we'll leave you with this. So when you're talking to our donors, when you're doing the solicitation, some of the things to ask for. We have a vacation home. It's far away. I don't use it anymore. I have a second home. The upkeep is too expensive. The kids really don't want it. Now that the children are grown, we've decided to downsize. In the case of one of our donors, it was through inheritance that they received a huge amount of real estate, and they don't know what to do with it. They don't want to be landlords. They want to move to assisted living. All of these questions that might come up in the course of a normal conversation, we should be thinking, do you know you might be able to do this? And if you don't mind, I'd like to put you in touch with someone that might be able to explain this better, and we'll just see where it goes. Robin Dermer, one of our terrific plan giving professionals, was talking to a gentleman about a simple charitable gift annuity, and in the course of the conversation, asked him about, he discovered that he was in the real estate business or as an investor, and from a simple charitable gift annuities, this just happened 2 days ago, where we just made a proposal and about a gift of a shopping center that it's owned in another state. where the value of the shopping center is somewhere in the $5 million class. So there are, I'm not saying we're getting a $5 million gift. There are other things involved with this that might not make it come true. But the point is that we have the data, we have the details, we spoke with the donor. He's interested in listening more, which is all we want. So that's it for my part of this formal presentation. I just wanted to talk to everyone about the fact that we do this, we do it well, and it could have an enormous impact on our campaign. And I believe it could be a very important part to the money we're trying to raise for Beersheba. That's going to be big money. And we've talked, and I've said to our staff, and I've said to our lay people when I've been at board meetings, I believe that a good chunk of the really big gifts are going to come in the form of blended gifts. It's going to be some cash. It's going to be some planned giving. It might be some irrevocable bequests. And I think all of it put together will allow us to raise the money we're going to raise. And this is just a way of doing it. So with that, I want to introduce just for a second the team. So you know me, I've been around for ages. Cynthia Hazami is our Plain Giving Director in California. And for whatever reason, I don't know, but it's the way it's been. California has been by far our most active area in the gifts of real estate. Robin Dermer is a top-notch professional. She covers Florida, and Bill Adolph also knows what he's doing. Covers the Midwest. And the truth is, even though we have these geographic spots, call on any one of us, because the fact is, once a real estate gift case is started, it's a collaborative effort. So Robin will work with me, Cynthia will work with me, they'll work with each other. The idea is that we bring to the table expertise and experience. And we know that when we can't answer a question or something is beyond our knowledge, we do happen to have some extraordinary legal backup to help us answer questions. This is serious money, and we want to be serious about it. And it has proved that way to be for us over the time that I've been with Jewish National Fund.